watching the 2004 Telecare Telethon, a celebration of the many facets of telecare and the communities we serve. This portion of the telethon is made possible by a generous contribution from Collins Building Services Incorporated. And now, Telethon 2004 continues.
We are entering the area of the prayer. This is our mosque at the Islamic Center of Long Island, and as we are walking in the direction of Mecca, the Qibla. As you can see in the front, we have mihrab, we call it mihrab. That's where the person who leads the prayer will be standing. And all of us are facing towards Mecca, and the carpet, as you see, is designed in a way to make it easy for the congregants to stand in lines so that the lines are straight and they know which direction to face in.
Dr. Khan, one of the first things that strikes me is that the room, by comparison to a church or synagogue, is stark. Why is that?
When we are inside the mosque, we are in the presence of the Creator, and we want to minimize any and all distractions. So therefore, you will not see any decorations on the walls, you won't see any pictures on the walls. It'll be as simple. The tone of the paintings, the color will be earthly, will be toned down to get that kind of mental tranquility that you're really in communication with the Creator and nothing outside is going to distract you.
In a lot of ways, this is very similar, and the idea of a simple prayer place without images is very similar to the laws that we follow in Judaism.
Well, I noticed that when I went to your synagogue.
Yeah.
Can you explain the hijab for us?
Well, the Quran tells us that the believing men and the believing women should be modest and lower their gazes. And this is a way of being modest.
You know, in churches, in Catholic churches, you always see women with veils and head coverings. And it's also true in traditional synagogues that women will cover their heads as well. So this isn't just a Muslim thing at all. It really is all the Abrahamic faith.
I wanted non-Muslims to appreciate the power of this journey and the universality of the journey, because all of us really in our faith quests are looking to know God better. We're looking to know who we are and what's our purpose in being here on planet Earth, and how can we improve our circumstances. And that's part of what this quest is about, and I think people could relate to that very well.
This is a man who changed world history in the space of a 23-year span, and it's a man who continues to influence the world today through the 1.2 billion Muslims who exist, and particularly in America, the 7 million Muslims. And we really felt that here was a person who is central to understanding history and central to understanding our Muslim neighbors, and yet very little knowledge here existed. So we thought this is the medium to work in, and it's an important story to tell.
Well, welcome to the Telecare Telethon, and we want to welcome a new group of people listening to us, and that is WLNY TV 55 viewers. This is a telethon for Telecare. Telecare is a TV station on Long Island which its programming reaches throughout the country. And it's devoted to values, it's devoted to faith, it's devoted to spirituality, it's devoted to virtue, it's devoted to getting people to come together and celebrate what they have in common rather than what divides them. 17 years ago, I met a rabbi, his name is Mark Gelman, and we formed the God Squad. You may have seen us on a show in New York or heard us on Imus in the morning or seen us on Telecare. Well, recently, Mark and I felt as though it was important that we extend that outreach religiously, that people have a right to see that religious leaders admire each other, work together with each other, are in harmony with each other. And we found the best way that that can happen is through friendship. It's going to somebody's house. It's walking across the street and meeting somebody in their own territory. And so we invited Dr. Farrakhan and the Muslim community to come and to do a show, which turned out to be our Muslim friends and neighbors. And it's an extraordinary show, and it's an example of exactly what Telecare stands for, and that is bringing people together. We've had a history of a number of years, but this was the biggest commitment you and I have made to each other in doing this show. Can you tell me what your reaction was when I first talked to you about it?
Father Tom, I was just thinking as I came to the studio about a year ago, last January, we met for the first time about this idea that you had. And here we are a year later, and you have already shown clips of what was accomplished. What did it mean to the Muslim community? To me personally, it was fantastic. It was just outstanding, a great gesture on your part. And the community is really appreciative, because what you have done is allowed the Muslims to talk for themselves without somebody else coming in and saying this is the way they are, this is what they believe in. Here you saw 4 clips. The first one was a visit to the mosque, and you cleared up so many misconceptions about what happens in a mosque. We answered questions like, why do you take off your shoes, the role of water in a mosque, and then the show brought together the commonalities of the synagogue and the church. That was the beauty of the show. And then the second one, we saw a brief clip about the hijab, which gets asked over and over again. And you heard from Sister Huda about what it means to her to cover her head. It's a sign of modesty, and she does it by choice. Nobody is forcing her to do it. And then you saw a clip of Anisa Mahdi going for Hajj and taping the whole show of Hajj, which incidentally will be a month from now. We'll be celebrating the Abrahamic rituals performed during the Hajj. So what you have done really is brought into the homes of the Telecare viewers what the Muslims are all about, their neighbors, their friends.
You know, the excellence of the program comes to a large degree from the Muslim community, because you brought together 20 outstanding people, and we were all sitting around the table wanting to do something good, wanting to do the best we could. And we discussed who should be the host, how it should be shot, what are the issues. And the issues, your group actually had a whole list of issues that we chose from. And then along the way you provided us, we were very much afraid that we would misrepresent in even the slightest way the Muslim faith. So we asked you to help us, to give us someone who could just guide us and make sure that we weren't making any mistakes in that. And you did that.
Well, we were really honored, because through that group of about 20-25 individuals, we were able to get really what's going on in Long Island, what's going on in New York with the Muslims, what are the issues they're facing. And what we very quickly realized that the information that's out there is really not accurate. And if there is any information at all. So we felt we should start from the ground up. We should first cover the basics. Who are the Muslims? What are the beliefs? What are some of the rituals? And then as we kind of move along, talk about some other issues down the road. So for us also, it's been a great exercise. I mean, we love exercise. I mean, we love it.
You know, I have to say to you, one of the most enjoyable times was when about 30 children came here. And they were taking a tour of the place, and then they were asking questions of the God Squad. And let me tell you, those questions, I'm not sure whether I passed the test or not.
Well, I love the question where one 6 or 7-year-old says, Father Tom, if you were to meet God, what would you ask him? That was a tough one.
It was. This is Father Kevin Smith, one of
It's great to see you, and I think anytime you can start a conversation for understanding, I think we're all better for it. And that's what I got from our Muslim neighbors at the show in this past year, was that the conversation has started. And I think that sometimes fear masks itself in anger, that when people don't understand something, they get angry, but it's basically sometimes just fear and misunderstanding. And I think it's one of the great things that, like you said, you go back to basics and start again. It's great to get the conversation rolling.
Oh, absolutely. There's so much to talk about and so many commonalities that it's just I mean, I'm learning. I'm a physician. This is not my line of work, but I'm learning and just preparing and helping with developing the show. And it's been an education for me also. And let's get those phones ringing, folks.
One of the things that over the years at Telecare, and even the whole theme of this telethon, is to talk about Telecare reaching out to the communities. And this is just another example of it. Over the years, one of the shows that I remember hosting was Circle of Faith. And that was one of the common themes in the show, was to sit down and zero in on different communities and how they reacted to the same experience in society.
You know what we can do? We can read some of the pledges, because there's some extraordinary people. Francis Looney, who was a...
Thanks a lot. Hey, we're here. Hey, everybody. Well, welcome to both of us.
Thank you.
This is my friend, Dr. Farouk Khan, and it is just a joy to be with you. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Good. You know, when Tom and I first got together, people thought, well, it's really very strange to have a Catholic station to have a rabbi on. And now, because of your tremendous help and because of the wonderful, wonderful people at the Islamic Center of Long Island, we now have a new direction in Telecare that also expands the understanding of Telecare and its service to the community, and that is the wonderful program called Our Muslim Neighbors. And let's talk about the program, and first of all, how it began and what ideas you had about helping people understand more about Islam.
Well, it was really Father Tom's initiative when he came and we had a little chat, and he said what he's watching on television isn't what he knows about the Muslims of Long Island. So let's put a real face on television. So it was really putting a face of the community on television. And during the last year or so, we've done a remarkable amount of work. We have had already 6 different segments done.
I know.
And the kids have been here, the adults have been here. We had a show on you and Father Tom came to the mosque, walked through the mosque, answered so many questions. And
yes, and we co-host every one of those sessions. And I tell you, I've studied Islam and I've learned a great deal, and it's been a wonderful experience. And first of all, I want to thank all of the people who have helped us. It's just wonderful people.
It's been a great experience for us. The staff here, Mike and Chris and everyone else, have been so supportive, so helpful. We felt at home.
That's wonderful. And, you know, I felt the same thing when I first came here. I was a little unsure at the beginning. After all, it is a Catholic station. But because of Tom, really, and his vision, his inclusive vision, there's room here now for Jews and Muslims. And I'm just so thankful that he's been able to do this, and so thankful that I've been able to play a part, because, you know, obviously the tensions in the Middle East and the tensions in the war on terror have made it very difficult for the Muslim community, and what we really want to do is to help address the simple truth that the only way that prejudice can grow is out of the soil of ignorance.
Absolutely.
And once people know that Islam is a wonderful religion, once they know that their Muslim neighbors are their neighbors, they're boys and girls and men and women who want the very same thing that everyone wants, and who believe in a world of peace and justice, and who believe in the same God that we all believe in. And once everyone understands that, I really think that prejudice and discrimination will disappear.
Rabbi, the beauty of this United States is that here's you and I are sitting in a Catholic studio and talking about our commonalities. I mean, where else can this happen?
Nowhere.
Nowhere, absolutely.
Nowhere. And what really has to happen